Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought we'd take a look at Dominions 5, Warriors of the Faith, a grand strategy game, sort of in the line of like a Master of Magic or an Age of Wonders, but a little bit bigger in scope, quite a bit bigger in scope actually. The idea of the game is that you are a pretender god, and you have a faction that you are leading, and you are spreading your faith and your armies across the map until you are the one true pretender, or one true god, not a pretender. It's a really fun game. It's super fun to dig into, and really, it's the kind of game like a Crusaders or Crusader Kings 2 maybe, or Europa maybe, where it's a bit of a story generator. A lot of crazy things can just sort of happen. And I think the reason I've had a few people who explain to me that it seems to be a little more complicated than they're expecting or comfortable with. And when you look at screenshots, it looks at turns intimidating, while also not super great to look at when you don't, especially when you don't understand what's happening on the screen. The truth is, once you start like getting a handle on the game, I find it looks very charming. I love the way it works and looks and feels when you're playing it. So I wanted to kind of just do a really quick look at the game from the point of view of somebody who has played it a decent amount, but not like a ton. I love the game, but I'm not good at it even. So I'm not going to do like a how to play or how to play well, but more like a what the hell is Dominions 5. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to create your world. You're going to pick a map. You're going to pick an age. We're going to go through all that. But I've discovered this is like the fourth or fifth time I tried recording this video, that if you don't look through the races beforehand, I'm not sure how you can look at the factions and evaluate them when you're picking them. So I'm going to do that before we start playing, and I'll talk about what that means. So first of all, there are like a ton of tools and resources, and there's a huge manual that's constantly being updated. There's mods, there's lots of preferences you can have as to how things are set up. There's a lot of customization here. I have it set up mostly default. So I think the only real preference I did click was I have, whenever I hire a new order, they're instantly given orders to like research or do something appropriate. And I also have a warning, I think, warn on end turn when I have a commander who's not done anything. Commanders are sort of like your sub-generals. You got your own avatar, but you also want to hire commanders because they lead your armies. Okay, so continue with the game. Let's go with tools, and we're going to create a pretender god from this interface. Doing it from here, you can just create a world and make a character from there when you set the game up and start playing. But if you do it through the tools interface, you can create and save a god for use down the road whenever you want. So we're going to do it that way just because it's an easier way for me to show you the different factions. So we're going to create a pretender god, and the first thing to pick is the era. There's 3 eras, and this decides a lot of like how the map is kind of generated randomly. You've got a lot more magic and ancient crazy stuff in the early age. You've got more modern like cities and temples in the late age, and in the middle age you have a kind of a blending of those two things. Neither very powerful magic, nor do you see things like like crazy late technology levels like you do in the late ages. We're gonna just make a middle age game. And here's the nations that exist in the Middle Age, because some of these don't exist in other ages, or their units and their race, the faction themselves, are different depending on the age that you pick. As an example, early game Ulm, which features a lot of humans and knights and things like that, look a little different than late age Ulm. In fact, we can kind of look at that. We can go to early age, and we're going to pick Ulm. And you can see here in the early age, they don't even have horse-bound units. They've got warrior smiths and archers wearing iron and scale hauberks, wielding mauls. But as you go into the Middle Age and pick Ulm, Where are they at? Here you go. Now you're starting to see full plate wielding Black Lords. Like different factions. Like this faction is quite different when you're playing the two different ages. And then if you look at them in the late ages, Ulm is still around, and now they've got very different units and fewer of them too. And if you read the descriptions, you can kind of see they are on the downward swing of their power, is why they have fewer things here to pick, fewer different things. They've fought themselves throughout the Middle Ages, and this is what's left of them. So that's true for like every faction. It's really impressive. It's super fun to like sort of dig into these factions' backstories. So we're not going to play as Ulm necessarily. I don't actually think it matters who we're going to play as. I'm not doing a full Let's Play. It's just look at the game. But there's like R'lyeh, the Falling Star. They are sort of like a Cthulhu-type water-based class. There's Pythium, which has like crazy monster-type creatures and hydras and also man, working with them. You've got a Golem cult. They are humans and pale ones, which are kind of like these giant ogre-type things that live in caves, working together, and they all live under the ground. What we might do is, and you can always hit R to pick like a random faction as well. When you're going to play the game, when you're going to make a pretender god, you can't pick random. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a nation. I'm not even that familiar with most of these guys. I just sort of pick them and then go from there. I do like these guys. They're kind of fun. They're like ice giants. Let's pick, let's go ahead and pick Ulm after all, because they're fairly easy to understand. So they're a young kingdom here in the Middle Ages, risen from the Ulmic tribes, conquered by the fallen empire of Urmor. So if you read this, I'm not going to read it to you, you get a sense for the faction, and if you look at the Fate national features, you can see that they're stocky humans, production bonuses, and all their castles. These are some of the qualities of them. They are typically heavy infantry with crossbows, knights, and superior armor. Their magic tends to be in the earth, fire, and occasionally air and astral spheres of magic. They have excellent magic item forging, and their smith's research is not affected by what's called the drain scale. There's different scales. When you're building your pretender, you pick if you have a lot of fortune or maybe a lot of misfortune. You gain points from going negative in some of these scales, like magic. You can have better research by putting points in the magic scale, or worse research by taking points away and making it a drain scale. I'll show you what that means in a bit, but this just means that the smith's research is not affected by the drain scale, which means you can actually get points back, letting your drain go downward, and spend those points on something else. Priests are typically weak, and they have standard forts, but the Master Masons can build better forts. So somewhere here is a Master Mason. Master Smith, I saw. I didn't see a Master. Here he is, Master Mason. So this guy can build better forts. Forts are very important. So let's take a look at some of these units, because as you notice when I right-clicked on them, you get a lot of information. And that's by design, because every individual unit, and you can have hundreds of them in a battle, is tracked. Their wounds, their experience, the equipment, in the case of commanders, the equipment that they carry in their slots from finding things. These are all things that are tracked in the game. Now, for the most part, you don't really have to futz with that stuff. I mean, you basically, most factions don't have quite this many things to build from, and a lot of the stuff you see here is fairly dependent on the situation. For the most part, if you're just going to build a force, you'll pick a couple guys. Maybe this guy with a shield and a hammer is pretty good. Go ahead and grab a guy with a Morning Star. Just the same guy, he just has a Morning Star instead of a hammer. And start building them. The most important thing to look at is cost and resources. Gold is how much it costs to train the unit. And then resources, how much it costs to kit the unit out in the gear that they have. So 30, it's a really high number, but that's because they're wearing full plate helm and armor and have a flail. And their gold of 10 is why their attack skill is average. Their defense skills real low, but it's because I'm going to guess their armor is really heavy. Defense skill is kind of like a dodge. chance to not be hit at all. But the thing is, if you do get hit, you subtract your damage from the protection score. And you'll notice the protection score is very high. That's the highest I've ever seen, and this is just a grunt without no shield equipped. Let's take a look at this Black Knight. His protection is also very high. His defense skill is still pretty high because of his base skill being really high. And having a high base defense skill comes from having a lot of training. You're going to notice he costs 45 gold and 63 resources. You will not have a huge army of Black Knights. You will value the ones that you buy. So that's cool. Let's just pick Ulm and get into the really fun stuff. Oh, by the way, every faction has like a starting site or two that they can kind of begin the game with. In this case, it generates the ability to recruit different lords, black priests, smiths, guardians, and 5 earth gems per turn. Earth gems are used for the casting of higher end spells and crafting items. So let's hit OK, and in here we're going to have our Pretender God. Now our Pretender God currently is a giant lizard, and you can pick a form. And these are not all the forms in the game, rather these are all the forms that Ulm can pick from in the Middle Ages. And whatever form you pick is going to modify the cost, because the form comes with abilities. For example, this guy right here, Tiwaz of War. He is a 220 point cost avatar, so to speak. He's a little bit cheaper because for Ulm, he's actually more compatible. So than any of them. So he's a little cheaper there. So if we pick him, we're going to have 205 points remaining to spend on different things, which I'll show you in a second. But picking him he has 1 point Earth magic, which means he can cast level 1 Earth spells or lower. There's nothing lower than 1. Same with air magic, same with fire magic. He is 2,000 years old, and he's got a full plate armor and a broadsword. So there you go. That's what he is. He has a Dominion of 3 to start with. The Dominion is the stat that tracks the strength of your religion as it spreads throughout the land. You want as many candles in each province as possible because that gives you benefits in those provinces, and your enemies are weaker in those provinces. Also, that's how you win the game, is by spreading your dominion across the world. Well, that or crushing all your enemies. So I like to have about a 5 in my dominion because I like having a strong dominion that pushes hard. This guy is kind of a badass. I don't think he needs like a lot of magic. His thing isn't going to be casting spells. That's what we're going to have wizards to hire for. So I'm going to save my points and not spend too much here, but rather I'd like the idea of having him provide us with bonuses in our provinces. For example, these are the scales. So this is magic. As I put points in magic, we get extra research points for each of my wizards that might be researching new spells. If I were to right click, then magic becomes drain. Excuse me. Drain reduces research points, but you'll remember, hopefully, that these guys have a benefit where the drain doesn't affect them. So we can pump this down to -3, and our smiths, at least, maybe not other researchers, but the smiths could keep on researching with no problem, and I get all these points I can spend on stuff. There's a lot of strategy to building your Pretender and tweaking and min-maxing. I don't worry about that stuff. I just spend points on stuff I think sounds cool, and I go from there. Now, I talked about not putting a lot of points into my magic, but there is one thing I like to talk about, and that is the bless effects. When you hit rank 4 in a magic or higher, in a magic channel, you can actually start spending those points as bless effects that affect any of your blessed units. So, for example, if I were to grab Farshot and Swiftness, then both the ability to have a ranged increase with missile weapons and the chance to attack first would all be applied to any of my units that are blessed by my priests. That's a big deal. That's pretty awesome. I love that you can do that. I love that it's customizable. And if I wanted to spend points also on crafting, I could get a few points there to spend. And I could say, blessed units are resistant to getting permanent battle afflictions, or they're very strong. There's a lot of cool things. Look at this, hard skin. Blessed units receive natural +5 protection. That's just less damage they all take. Now, incarnate only means this only works if my pretender is on the battlefield and alive. Sorry, not the battlefield, the map. Not in the battle, just on the map around there. Because you can start with a dormant one who maybe isn't awake for the first year of the game and gain a bunch of points to spend. Or imprisoned, and it takes him like 3 years to show up on the map. But that's a lot of... I mean, he's very powerful when he hits the ground. So if you start with an awake guy, and let's say I didn't care so much about that, and I wanted to go up here, I could pick half damage. Okay, I could pick hard skin. Okay, like that, and then so my guy is going to start the game and be on the map. And my blessed units will have a huge bonus to their protection, natural protection. They'll have a 5. And Ulm has crazy heavy armor. I mean, my guys would be super hard to kill. But you'll notice I haven't got many points left, though, there. So I could also go, well, I'm going to put a point in here and make my income and resources a little bit higher. I can have my domain be a little bit stronger or weaker to put a point somewhere else. I think it's 40 points for this. I can go down here, 1 point, and do growth. You know, for extra supplies, which are important because my guys are very well armored, and I need a lot of supplies to buy that armor. So you know, let's just stick with that for now. This is fine. It seems fun. So we're gonna just hit OK. We're gonna give him a random name, which I think there actually is. No, maybe not. Question mark brings up a hotkey list. I thought there was a way to randomize names. Oh, actually, I think if you don't have a name, it's randomized. Yeah, or maybe not. Okay, so now I've created my god. So we're going to actually exit out, create a world, random map. We're going to do a small map, just 10 provinces on average per player in the game. I don't like wraparounds, but that's an option. You can toggle on and off. Game name, we'll just call this Let's Play 1. Okay, Middle Ages. And we're going to have 4 players. We're going to pick random there. And we're going to pick Ulm. Okay, and for the AI, I like to have land nations, although, you know, it's actually fun and fine to go either way. And random AI types. There's quite a couple different options there, but I'm going to pick random for that. We're just going to hit OK. There's we've seen this before. This is Ulm. Hit OK. And we're going to load a pretender god. Here he is right here. Now we have our pretender god that we've already created, and I can use him for future games if I really want as well. Okay, so we have some options for the game. I'm not typically... Oh, that's kind of cool. You can have more provinces. A little bit faster start. Get the game going a little bit faster. Independent strengths can be lowered if you want to be able to quickly and easily, you know, punch through and expand your domain initially against the independent factions in the game. Special sites can be tweaked so that they're more or less frequent. Same with everything else. Random events can be common for a slower paced game with a lot of things happening, which we'll go ahead and turn on for this. You can turn on story graphs and story events, which I like to... All story events are... I didn't notice this till like my last game I started playing. So this is kind of cool. It's more for a single player experience. But I think the idea behind them is excellent, so I'm going to turn them on. Score graphs I usually leave disabled, so I don't tempt myself by looking, but since we're playing just a quick game, I'll leave them on so I can show you the score graphs. Hall of Fame entries, that is when a special unit, when any unit has just survived a lot of fights, he can become a Hall of Fame entry guy and gain like a cool, special, unique skill, which grows as he gains more experience. By default, 10 characters in the whole game map can be in this Hall of Fame. And etc. There's just a lot of stuff here. We'll do random research to start to have a few things to begin the game with. Thrones of Ascension is one of the victory conditions. By default on this map, there's 4, each worth 1 point. If we were to, say, throw a level 2 throne in the map, then if someone were to grab that level 2 throne and 2 more level 1 thrones, they'd win the game. And you can kind of tweak this and say, well, you know, it's going to require like, 10 points, but there's a level 3, 2 level 3, you can do something like this, if you want to. I'm going to leave it at its defaults for now, but I do like to have a level 2 throne on the map because it's kind of fun to have those. I think the higher level thrones are very powerful too when you start actually like collecting them and controlling them. The Cataclysm is a new thing for the Dominions 5 game. This lets you say that at the end of a certain term, the game gets crazy hard and everyone's going to start losing, and then the victory is basically whoever was doing the best when that happened, as far as I can remember. This is nice for just setting a game length and kind of going with that. Alright, so let's just say go. We're going to let this create the game map, and I'm just going to show you the first like turn or two of the game. I know it seems like there's a lot of information coming at you, but hopefully you've also got a grasp for the basics behind some of it. Because once you start playing, there's really only a few things you even do every turn. You're recruiting units, you're searching provinces that you've captured to see if there's any hidden sites in there, you're scouting, you're setting up your army. That's one thing about the game we haven't talked about is combat, which, if you look at the description, it's real-time combat, but it's not actually real-time combat like you think it is. It's more like sitting back and watching the fight play out and then hoping your force wins. Hopefully you built a good force. Okay, so what we're going to do here is... Okay, so what we're going to do here is take a look at these events. You're going to see events pop up at the beginning of each turn. The first turn is always these same events. And here's the game. There we go. It's a small map. There's a lot of water in the center, and there's no water factions. So there's probably someone over here, probably someone over here, here, and here. If we go to score graphs, we will be able to see them because we've turned on the ability to see the other enemies. I think that's under statistics, score graphs. So looks like we've got here the 4 factions. Nothing's. I guess there's no information because we haven't even taken a turn yet. All right, let's just zoom in a little bit on the map, and I'll show you. I whistled when I said that. I'll show you what we're looking at. Okay, the gold is any province that has our domain spread to it. This is going to grow. I think our domain ended up being like 6. That doesn't show it there. And it's going to just spread and spread and spread. Now you're going to notice or remember that I had set a couple of bonus scales, like for example reduced research, improved growth, and economy. Those are going to be only affected in the where my domain is spreading. So like right now with just the starting province, I've got a keep. This keep has a fortification. It's got a laboratory. It's got a temple which can be used to recruit holy people. The Keep of Ulm. We looked at these. That's what I start with. I have 5 earth gems. I've got my main guy, Eidhart. He's right here defending. I've got a starting commander, Hilderic, the commander of Ulm. He can command up to 80 troops. And in fact, he can have up to 3 squads with no morale penalties. And in fact, if he stays with 3 squads or fewer, each of those squads gets +1 morale. Morale is very important. And then this guy here, he is a spy. And he's got the spy ability. He can get additional information when hiding enemy lands. And he can instill uprisings. And he's stealthy, very stealthy. 60 is actually higher than most of the stealthy units. So what you do in this first turn of the game, you're going to grab your spy. You always start with a scout of some kind. You're going to send him off somewhere. These are mountains. This is some kind of merc, the Sodden Merc. These, by the way, these names are all randomly generated, along with like the properties of everything around me. There's a forest over here that's going to have a lot of resources in it. So these mountains. The swamp probably is not going to be very good in terms of resources or income. Which, by the way, I'm getting 419 gold and 118 resources for my home territory. And anything adjacent to a fort gives some of its income to that fort. So if I capture this, and this... Oh, here's a throne right here. If I capture all these around me, then I'll have a lot more resources to throw at recruiting troops. So that's a priority. So let's just go into the forest and explore. Now, how this is working is I'm not doing it right now. I'm issuing these commands, and I'll end my turn, and that will process all my commands. And at the beginning of the next turn, I'll get all the messages with the results, including the battles, which will have already happened. I can just watch and see what happened, but they've already happened. You don't influence anything past that point. This guy here, if I go to Army Setup, we'll see that I've got a spy, my this guy here, commander, and then my main commander, obviously, like the leader of the entire thing. And his leadership is 165 units with +3 morale for up to 5 squads. That's insane. So we're going to take these infantry and pikemen, and we're going to actually give them to this guy instead. So that plus morale over there, when he leads them, that's +3 morale. So he's got 2 squads, and if you click on this little box next to the squad, this actually tells you where in the battlefield you're telling them to be. So we're going to have these guys be in front. We're going to have these guys be off to the side a little bit. We're going to have this guy, the leader, he's going to stand back here. I mean, his stats are crazy good, but I don't want him to get hurt in fights. So we're going to set his battle order to stay behind the troops and bless. Nope, he doesn't have bless. Oh, that's interesting. So he can cast spells because he's got a few points in... he's got a point in fire, a point in air, and 6 points in earth. And so consequently, because of that, he can cast a few spells. So we're going to have him cast with flying shards. Several stones are hurled towards the enemy. They're not very powerful, but can severely injure lightly armored units. So we're going to have him cast that, maybe. He can't cast Flame Bolt, even though my nation knows it, because we have level 1 evocation. But he only has 1 point in fire, so it's grayed out. He can Shocking Grasp, he can Fire Dart, he can Burning Hands. So if you don't pick anything, if you just say cast spells, he'll just cast spells. So we'll just let him do whatever he wants to do. Now this guy this will be interesting because you can have 1 prophet active at a time, and as far as I know, there's no reason not to take a regular Joe Schmo that you start the game with that has no special abilities, especially since he can't even lead as effectively as my particular guy can. We're going to set him to become the prophet. Next turn he'll become my prophet. Very powerful. He'll spread my domain faster, and he will be able to cast priest spells, including the all-important blessing spell, which you remember is going to make my guys +5 natural defense, because I set him up. So we're going to do that. Now, the problem is, see, he's sacred, actually, himself. He gets natural protection +5 because of his blessing, and that is protection right here. So there you go. Earth magic gives him +6. He has naturally got a 3. So he ends up with Earth magic +6. Yeah, that's from the blessing effect and plus morale. So his protection is 24. He's gonna be very hard to hurt wearing full plate armor like he is. That's awesome. Okay, let's recruit. So still in this territory, we're going to recruit units. We have 400 gold, 118 resources, and 6 holy points. These come from like temples, and a lot of holy units take holy points. I'm trying to find a guy that has like some holy that takes holy points just to show that off. Where are my holy point guys? What I'm looking for is my guys who are sacred. Sacred troops can be blessed and get that natural bonus. I'm not seeing any guys that have any actual abilities like sacred. This is where being familiar with a nation comes in handy. Black priests are sacred, so they can be blessed. But I don't want to hire just black priests all the time. I don't have any sacred units. Huh. That's wild. Must be one of the features of Ulm. Okay, well that's fine. Oh god, that's expensive. So these are the Black Knights. I mean, I can get a couple of these guys. Well, one. I can get one of these guys. But early in the game, it's better to have a wide amount of units to throw at the enemies nearby and try and overwhelm them. So we're gonna, let's see, we can go with black plate infantry or regular. So we got full chain, helmet, tower shield, or that's for 10 gold and 26. Or for 11 more resources, we can give these guys full plate. So we're gonna grab some full plate guys. Wow. That's not gonna happen. Yeah, let's do that. These guys are really cool too. Black plate infantry. They have a lot of resource requirements. So, okay, what else we're gonna do? We're gonna get a couple of these infantry guys. Excuse me, infantry guys. I want to start researching spells. What's a black priest got for research? 7 points. That's not very high. What's a smith got? 11. So the smiths have 11 research. There we go. Excuse me. The smiths have 11 research, which is not a lot, but we'll take it. Because the death drain of 1, most units are going to have -1 research points. But not smiths, because of the own mobility. So, growth of 1 and productivity of 1. Those are listed right there because of our domain. I feel like I know what I'll show you research. So, there's a lot of spells in the game. We started the game with level 1 evocation. We're gonna learn construction to level 4, and I'll show you why. If you right-click on these categories, you can see all the spells that you get from the various levels. Construction lets us right now make magic trinkets level 0. Next level, we can make corpse man constructions. Well, we can't because we need death magic and air magic. We don't have either of those things, so that's useless for us. But level 2 will show us the ability to construct lesser magic items. And if we get on level 4, we can make greater magic items, and it gets better and better from there. So we're making like artifacts. Conjuration, okay, my god had 1 point in air, 1 point in fire. If we were to go into evocation level 2, that would give us access to this stuff, which you'll notice nothing takes only 1, so he can't really even do any of this stuff. So probably won't spend any time on evocation right now. What about conjuring? And I can recruit. If I go to recruit units, I can recruit guys that have like a black priest, priest smith, a lore guardian. They might have more points in a magic somewhere. Ulm isn't a very high-end magic nation. That's the thing about the thing about these guys. They don't use magic; they use arms. So I'm not. That's why I went construction, because I can make equipment for him. Like right now, he's just defending. I can instead forge a magic item. Like he could make a fire gem a fire sword if I had 5 fire gems. I probably don't have any of the stuff I need for this. Well, I can make this a black steel sword. Yeah, so I'm gonna do that. And then we're gonna hit end turn, and you'll see here now that is how that has processed my turn. And I've gotten a proclamation from the other 2 of the factions. They've also set up their initial prophet, and now I have a prophet. And you'll see he has now become my prophet. And he is now blessed, which gives him the protection bonus of +5. Current natural protection is 5. He doesn't normally have natural protection, but he does. And he's priest level 3. So if I go to army setup and have him kind of stay back here and set him to stay behind troops, or cast spells, I guess. Cast a specific, we want to cast blessing right away. Oh, but do we though? None of my guys can even be blessed. That's super weird. Well, I could be missing something there too. But he can word of stone, which strikes down from the heavens with a bolt, and anything that survives the smite could be petrified. So we'll have him do that. Maybe even a couple times. Actually, I don't see why not. Let's do that. What's divine blessing? All holy units in the entire battlefield. Yeah, it doesn't help us. Holy Avenger. Oops, I didn't even look at it. Any harm done to the casting priest will strike the guy, the smite demon. Sermon of Courage is nice because it gives them morale, but man, my guys have a ton of morale because of the big bonus that their leader gives them. So yeah, I'll just have him cast Word of Stone a couple times, and then he'll let him decide after that what he wants to do. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have this guy and this guy. They're going to move off. Now my scouts moved off. There's 40 light infantry and militias in here, and archers. And I bet you that we'll make short work of them. So let's go in there and take them out. So we're going to march on these guys, and you get to see a fight next turn. And then here, this guy, he's hiding here. Let's have him go and keep exploring this direction. And you'll notice as my turn ended, my domain has spread. It's now 3 candles here, and here I can see more information on like what income and such I'm looking at. So we're gonna take a look at that. I recruited Adolf. You'll notice he began researching immediately. That goes all the way back to the option that I had set where give orders to new commanders automatically. So he's just researching. So that means if I go to research, his 11 points, I'm getting all 11 points, even though I have drain of 1. And it's going to take him a while to research anything because, frankly, 11 is not a great deal. So we're going to army recruit units. I'm going to grab another Master Smith. I'm going to repeat that every turn because I want to get as many of these guys researching as I can. And we're going to grab more of these guys here. Not the heavy black plate guys, just because I don't have the resources to support them. But I definitely want to get as many of these guys as I can, just units in general. Speaking of that, army setup, these are the guys we recruited last time. Let's go ahead and throw them in this guy's first group and watch him fight. I don't know if this will work out or not. I don't have that many guys, but I do have this guy. He's a badass. We'll see what happens. Alright, ending our turn, there was a battle in the woods. Now if I click right here, it'll show us what happened immediately. Let's just do that. Boom. The province previously owned by the Independents has been conquered by our forces. The commander of Ulm himself, that's this guy right here, killed 2 people. Tiwaz of War, he killed 1 person. My infantries took down 16 people, and my pikeneers killed 6. On the other side, we've got commander. We've got we actually have 3 commanders, 1 priest, some archers, 7 of them, so 11 light militias, infantry, and 14 militias, and they all died. None of my guys got killed. So you don't have to actually watch the battle, but let's go ahead and watch the battle. This is especially useful if you didn't win and you want to know why. So I'm gonna pause this here when the action starts, but you'll see. There we go. We've already seen some things happening over here. This guy is casting spells. If you can actually hit V, and it gives you a log for every individual unit in the game. He casts Air Shield on himself, which is right here. Protected from winds that prevent most missiles from hitting. So that was a cool... I didn't set anything for him. The AI just decided that was a good thing to cast. And since they have archers, it was a good thing to cast. Alright, here comes the battle. My guys... Oh, that must have been that Flying Shard spell. Yep. Alright. Watch the numbers fly. I saw 3. So if we look at any unit and click on the V here, we'll see that the militia... Actually, let's look at one of my guys. The infantry of Ulm hit the guy in the arm for 5 damage, loses an arm. So just took this one guy's arm off. Another guy missed him. Another enemy hit him, but did 0 damage because of his high armor. And then he attacked back, but missed. And then the other guy missed him. So, I mean, the battle's playing out in real time with dice rolls, spells being cast. And it's kind of fun to watch all your strategies come together, really. Especially in the really big fights where there's like hundreds of units in the battlefield. And there's like hydras and dragons, and they're fighting liches and all kinds of crazy stuff. So let's quit out of that, and that's that. Now we have this province providing us with some resources. We have more resources here than we are used to having, so we can actually recruit some higher-end troops. Oh, we have sappers. Looks like they have crossbows. That's kind of cool. Specialists who dig tunnels under enemy walls. They have a bonus against sieging. Oh, that's pretty awesome. It's good to know. So let's grab us some black plate guys here. That's pretty cool. What do these guys have? What is this? A mall? Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And then we now have 2 guys researching, and then these guys here are ready to march to something else. So we'll have a march up to income 20. This is like a swamp. This is really not super useful. I don't know what's over there. Where's my scout? Here he is. Let's see him go over here. So here we've got the Throne of Ascension. One of the Thrones of Ascension. You can see that there's one right here, and one over here. one over here, and one over here. And one of these is a level 2. And we've got some enemies in this water province right here as well. So the game's going to keep going like this. I'm going to keep building more units. I'm going to keep spreading out. I'm going to take a guy and search for magic sites, which isn't going to be great because I'm only going to be able to do a 1-point fire search, a 1-point air search, 6-point earth search. So if there's like a really powerful site in this domain that requires an air of 4 to find, I'm not going to find it with this guy. I have to bring another guy in who's got 4 points of air or higher and do another search. But if there's a cool earth site in here, he's going to find it. And in the meantime, we're going to have this guy preach, just because he's going to sit there anyway. And that's going to be that. I am going to end the turn because I am curious to see what if there's any magic sites in here. So we'll just see if there was. There was a magic site in the woods. Alright, awesome. It was quicksand. Produces an earth gem per turn. So that's great. That's fantastic. Oh, also back here, I think this guy finished making his sword. So if we were to take these guys back home, I wouldn't do this fast. I just want to just show this off. So now we go to this guy here and click on his sword slot. He can have this black steel sword instead of this boring old broadsword, which does 33 damage. Instead, 36 damage and magic. It does magic damage in addition to slash damage. That's the benefit of having a black steel sword. So there you go. And if he were to go, okay, well, I'm going to forge a new item. Let's forge a shield. Like a kite shield. Yeah, why not? That's pretty awesome. Forge that. And then you can forge something probably as well. We're gonna black steel helmet. And then you can forge something as well. Full plate. Yep. And I got plenty of gems left. What can you forge for me? Forge boots? No, what's this? Ring of Fire. Takes fire gems. I don't have any fire gems. Once again, I'm just speeding through my turn just to show off some cool stuff. So we're going to go in here and go boop, 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 boop. Now he is clad in black steel helmet, full plate, kite shield, black steel sword. Boom. And he is ready to... I mean, what I should probably do with him is not have him cast spells, but just attack. Just attack the closest enemy, just close with him and watch him wreak havoc. In fact, this is probably not very smart, but again, I'm not going to keep this game. We're going to have my whole army move down to this throne. I can't because there's mountains in the way. I will go over here. Actually, before I do that, I guess I will take these guys here and put them in the army because I have them. I should have been recruiting more guys. We're going to end the turn real quick because I just want to throw him at these guys. Oh, let's go back at the messages because an unexpected event occurred. Brigands have taken up residence in a ruin. Unrest 35. That's not cool. So that's actually my home territory. My unrest is 27. If that gets high enough, I'll lose the whole province. That's not good. There's actually one of the scales. I didn't put any points in it, so it's neutral right now. But there is a luck and a misfortune scale. And with 3 points in luck, you can get some really awesome things just happen randomly. It's super fun. Conversely, 3 points in misfortune is like playing in hard mode. Let's take my big army here and march him on this throne just to see what happens. Alright, let's just watch the battle. Watch my giant, awesome guy charge forward. See, like, when you start getting used to how the game plays and looks, I think this looks awesome. But screenshots do not do this game justice. There is a fire elemental. They have a fire elemental. That's fantastic for them. They also have a water elemental. So they must have a mage over here. A couple of them. Who's a fairly high quality. Here's a level 4 guy. This is Theon the Wizard. He's got black plate also. And a bunch of gems, and he's lucky. So they have some very high-end mages over here. They're all going to be casting. I'm going to guess, but we'll see how it goes. Like, my black armor-clad troops against these normal, regular leather armor guys, they can't really hurt us. We're going to come right through them and just crush them. Let's take a look at his log and see how that went there. We're resisting a bunch of magic effects that are coming at us, and he just took a guy's arm off. War is hard. up a little bit. I mean, our line is holding. Man, they have summoned a lot of fire elementals. Look at this. I mean, if you look at him, he's got a lot of hit points. Like, I mean, average number of hit points for a human is like 10. Giants have 30. Dragons have over 100. So he's got like dragon levels of hit points. And strength is the same story. I mean, his strength of 26 is ridiculous. But there's a lot of elementals, and I've lost a lot of my troops to those elementals. Watch what happens. Oh, he's getting crushed by these elementals. I mean, elementals are ignoring his defense. 0 points of damage. No, look at that's commander. Where's the? Is he even fighting the elementals yet? No, he's not fighting the elementals yet. Oh God. So he hit F1. You can get a look at all the units in the battlefield, and he just died. The commander hit him for 0 damage. Oh, I see. It's actually the wizard is the commander because he summoned all these guys. So they all attacked him. Only a few got through, but enough got through that they just did... Well, this guy did a lot of damage to him. They just killed him. So I'm going to guess we lost that fight. Our forces were beaten by the defending forces of the Independents. I mean, we killed quite a few guys. But they killed all my guys. So, yeah, there you go. I mean, we knew it was a bad idea. I just wanted to see that happen. So, anyway, that is Dominions. Well, a very, very small early look at Dominions. If you want, real quick, I'm not going to save that. I will go into my game that I'm playing so you can see a little contrast. Here's a game I started a little bit ago with Abysia. I think that there's a way for me to show you my my nation. Yeah, here. No, this is a nation overview. I thought there was like a pretenders, photographs. No, Hall of Fame. No, other pretenders. Here we go. Here's me. So, I mean, the Abyssians are like salamanders and lava warriors. See, lava warriors are my sacred guys. And sacred guys, when they get blessed, they get Blood Surge plus 3. Makes them more powerful when they take damage. Extra hit point, extra morale, and Awe, which requires a morale check to even strike them in combat. For all of my guys, all these lava warriors I've got, and I've got quite a few in the army that's marching forward. So I have like all these lava guys, and when they get blessed, they get all those abilities, including Awe, which makes it really hard for the enemy to like even hurt them. So I mean, this is the kind of game you can really lose a weekend to and just sink into. So that's Dominions. I hope you enjoyed this brief look at the game. And if you have any questions or you want to know more about it, or if you have any suggestions or requests, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to do some more videos for this. Maybe I'll start a series for it. All right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.